I don't know if you're like me, but I find myself just trying to find pockets of my day to get some gaming in or just enjoy something I'm doing. Part of the reason why these different portables have become such a huge part of my gaming repertoire, loadout, whatever, is because of that. Just like, oh, I got 25 minutes. And something I was thinking about in light of that was actually the idea of like, what do you main? Like, what is your main gaming device? And in light of like the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 5 Pro, and all of these different things, I started to think about like, I want to switch to PC, but is PC even my main device? Well, let me grind this. So as I've been thinking more about it, I feel like gaming for me has changed a lot since, I would say, the introduction of the Steam Deck to my gaming life. I mean, we all remember when the Switch released, 2017, it was a really big deal. Because up until the Switch release, gaming was one or the other. You either played on something like a 3DS, or you played on something like an Xbox or a PlayStation. Sure, the Wii U existed, RIP, but like, come on. You're not really trying to get competitive with Halo on the Wii U. It's more of a kind of a fun little family thing. That being said, up until just a couple of years ago, it still kind of was the thing. Portable PCs were starting to hit the market and were showing up more and more, but really it was one of the few. Like, were you on Nintendo Switch? Were you on Xbox, PlayStation? And at this point, Nintendo Switch became kind of in everyone's machine. And so now it's like, are you PlayStation, Xbox, or PC? Like, well, how are you playing your games? For the majority of people. There are those people out there who have them all multi-console or have even PC gaming along with that. But I would say for the general population, for the financially responsible population, it's really just one decision, and that is which one are you using? Well, for me, I would say that if I wasn't doing this as a job, I would obviously have picked just PlayStation. But then the Steam Deck hit the scene, and with the Steam Deck, a lot of things started to shift around. One, as a whole, PC gaming became a little bit more approachable. We started to see games being optimized for that experience. The verified or playable or unknown thing, or not supported, I guess is one too, was starting to be sought after. Like, ooh, I can play this on my Steam Deck. But still, it was kind of a working concept is a better way to, like, the best way I can put it. Like, we're going to try this out. And then more and more time went on, more games became available in this form factor, and it started to become a device to choose. Not a supplementary device, rather, but an actual choice in the big, I guess we would say the Power 3, PC, PlayStation, Xbox. Again, I'm omitting Nintendo because they have proven themselves to be kind of outside of the whole which one are you going to play your games on. And by games, I really mean like some of the big AAAs. But anyway, we're going to continue on. The Steam Deck started to become a more viable option, and for people who are busy, who are working professionals, who have very little time on their hands, it started to become a sought-after device because it was respectful of that person's time, allowing you to turn on and off the game with the power button, which is quick suspend, allowing you to actually have access to a very, very large library of games in any way anywhere you want to play it. The dockable aspect of it, which isn't perfect, but still definitely usable, became more and more of something that is a very reasonable and quite powerful little device. Just wish it looked better. I'm still waiting on my cases to come in so that I can make my deck look like what it used to look like. We'll have a video about that loadout eventually. I have been really thinking more and more since I've gotten the Steam Deck back and still have the Asus ROG Ally X, which I'm not 100% certain if I'm going to return or keep for testing purposes, just because that's what I do here. But the deck itself has been, I've mentioned multiple times, transformative in how I observe gaming. Now, I've always been a fan of handheld. Heck, it's the reason why this mod retro is such an exciting thing for me. It excites me to be able to use because it's a Game Boy, and I love that form factor, and I love that playability, and it's just fun for me. But the portable aspect of the Steam Deck actually became far more than just convenient. It became necessary. Again, as I said, my life's busy. I have a lot of other priorities, whether it's my children, my work, or just hanging out with the couple friends I have playing Magic. Moving around and getting from point A to point B is really just, or not getting from point A to point B, but moving around, which I already said. Kind of losing my train of thought here for a second, but moving around and going from point A to point B, you tend to have to bring stuff with you, and size is, I'm not going to bring my PlayStation with a clamshell design, right? It just doesn't make sense. And so getting to the coffee shop a few minutes early so that I can play some Steam Deck, or not a few minutes, maybe an hour early when I'm going to go play Magic with some friends or whatever, that gives me that moment, that exciting moment, that actually worthwhile moment. I gotta get a coaster, otherwise this table is going to freaking fall apart. All right, here we go. And again, it got me thinking more and more. What are we rolling today? We're rolling a 3, which is going to be ABG Green. And that is, what do I main? What is the main console I use? And so when I hear people talk about the PC, when I hear people talk about PlayStation, they go, PlayStation 5 is my main console, and then I use my Steam Deck as my secondary console, or my Switch as my secondary console, or whatever. And I was thinking, yeah, that makes sense. PC is my main console, and then Steam Deck would be the secondary console. That makes sense. That makes the most sense out there, because the PC is the more powerful one, right? What happens when you start on Steam Deck? What happens when you start with that device and then add the PC in? And that starts to become something I was thinking about. I'm like, I don't know if I can say that PlayStation 5 or PC, or, at this point, just because we're kind of at the end, Nintendo Switch is my main console. I have found myself gravitating towards picking up the Steam Deck over the Nintendo Switch as of late, because I've pretty much played all the games that are in the library. I opted out of playing Zelda Echoes of Wisdom because it just didn't interest me. I already had kind of a hard time with Minecraft Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It was a cool mechanic that you can do all these different things, but for me, it wasn't a welcomed one. I think that the mechanic itself overstayed its welcome, and I found myself almost not enjoying the gameplay because of it, which is crazy, because I know plenty of people who would say the exact opposite, that it was a very welcomed mechanic and people loved it and all this stuff, so whatever. But when it comes to gaming on a main console, I'm like, okay, the Steam Deck's my main console, or the ROG Ally X, or whatever it may be. All of a sudden, there's a very big shift in priority when it comes to games, right? You look at the Steam Deck and you go, oh man, I can't believe it can't hit what a PlayStation can hit. But what the PlayStation requires of me is far greater than what the Steam Deck requires of me. Let me give you an example. First, let me take a sip of this coffee, because it's at this point sippable. Gosh dang, it's so good, dude. Get an AeroPress. Get an AeroPress. It is the best entry into specialty coffee. AeroPress. You don't have to have a fancy kettle like I do. I just do because, look how sick this looks up here, dude. I got my Sea of Stars vinyl. I got my delicious, yummy, cute little mod retro chromatic. And I have my kids' handprints and all this manga. Gosh, this room is so cool. This room is so freaking cool. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Okay. Which I believe I was talking about what the PlayStation costs versus what the Steam Deck costs. PlayStation grants me visual fidelity and an experience on my LG C2, which is very nice. It's an OLED TV, so it's very beautiful. I get all the colors. I get everything I want on it. In my office, which I play. And granted, I'm not really traveling around town as much as I, would want to. But my gaming is fixed to this location with my TV. Nothing wrong with that. But the problem herein lies is Sony manages my library. They have been managing my library. And, love them or hate them. That's not the topic of today's conversation, is whether or not Sony's good or Nintendo's good or Xbox is good. It's really, what does that mean when you have a company like Sony managing your library? Well, it means that when you want to play your games, you're playing them on a PlayStation 5 or the PS Portal, which I really liked the PS Portal. I thought it was really cool for my house. The second I went out of my house, complications were introduced. Complications that I didn't really want to deal with. If I have half an hour before my friends get there to play Magic the Gathering, I want to be able to hit the power button. And where are we? What are we doing? We're about to play Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Cool. Awesome. I want to be able to do that. With the Portal, there was always that, got to connect to the internet, got to make sure that you get into there, got to open the browser, do all this stuff. Again, cool, but it just takes time. The in and out aspect of it is very important. And so with the PlayStation, though, portability is something that is possible, right? Possible with quotation marks. It's very doable in some ways. It ends up becoming something that is a little bit more tedious than it is convenient. And for me, when time is of the essence, I'm not going to want to do that. Now, the games look better on the Portal, right? Final Fantasy 16 runs better on the Portal than it does on the Steam Deck. Hands down. Horizon Forbidden West better on the Portal than on the Steam Deck. Now, the problem herein lies is that I'm reliant on the internet a lot more than I would be with the Steam Deck. Game is on, we're good to go, we're fine for the most part. Updates, of course, always there. Ally X, similar in its own regard, but I'm just focusing Steam Deck right now, because if I was to make a definitive statement, I would say that the Steam Deck is my main console and everything else is my secondary console. Who knows what's going to happen when the Nintendo Switch 2 drops? I would argue that unless spec-wise it is more powerful than a Steam Deck, I still find myself using the Switch 2 for playing games that are just Nintendo, right? All my Pokemon or Mario or whatever. Like, that's what I would lean onto the Nintendo for, and for everything else, the Steam Deck. That library management thing has become such a big deal that it is the main, if not one of the only reasons why I plan on transitioning, or I'm currently in a process of transitioning from PlayStation to PC. It is 100 or 99% because of the library management. The fact that I have right now, a Asus ROG, Zephyrus, not ROG, Zephyrus, or maybe it is ROG, G14 from a couple of years ago, a ROG Ally X, Steam Deck, and a Geekom mini PC, and I can download Sea of Stars, and regardless of which computer I use, I can play that game cross-save across all of those because that save is on the cloud, is phenomenal. All four of those devices have very different specs. All four of those devices run extremely unique in their own right. One is Intel, one is AMD, one is a mini PC, the other is a gaming laptop, the last is a portable PC. And, well, not the last. The last would be the Steam Deck, which is not even a Windows-based device, but a Linux-based device. This flexibility in device, for me, is paramount. Like, genuinely paramount. And this is what got me thinking. If the PlayStation 5 isn't technically my main, and the Steam Deck has become my main, then is begging for frames, looking for ray tracing, and wanting smoother textures really, truly the focus I should have? Or rather, is it stability in gameplay, flexibility in location, and honestly, fluidity, or rather agility when it comes to the times I want to sit down and play my games? And I would say that those markers have become kind of the gold standard for what I'm looking for in my gaming experience. So one might ask, well, then why would you even build a PC if the PC is just going to give you the experience that you were getting on the PlayStation, which you're seeming to flee from? And that's such a phenomenal question. That is an incredible question, and I totally appreciate it. And that one has multiple answers if you would let me just get through those. And that sounded really condescending. More just give me a second. First, I've been using Apple products my whole life. They work phenomenally. They do the job really well. And as a creative, the ease of use has been wonderful. As of the past few years, or I would say more the past year and a half, I have felt more and more insulted by the pricing structure that Apple has brought to the table. The very devices that I utilize to do the job that I do, video editing, have started to end up in the multiple thousands. And if I wanted to upgrade anything on what I currently have, it's not possible. Everything that I currently have is soldered together, and there is nothing upgradable about it. Now, I do have flexibility. This is a laptop, and I understand that laptops are their own bag of tricks, but I am realizing that more and more as my life has progressed, having a laptop to do my everything is becoming less and less necessary. I love having a laptop. It's great. I have a MacBook Pro. It is maxed out as of 2 years ago. It was $4,200 MSRP. I got discounts because I had friends that worked at Apple, and so I was able to get it for close to 31, if not 32. But still, $3,200 for a laptop is ridiculous. And that was 2.5 years ago. Crazy. In order for me to get the similarly spec'd to what it was back then, it would be almost $5,000 for a laptop. A laptop that doesn't do everything I need it to do, right? I can't do some of the cool things. I can't stream the Mod Retro Chromatic from a MacBook Pro because for some reason this device isn't detected the same as it was. I tried simply plugging it into the Zephyrus G14 and it detected it the way it was supposed to, like webcam. And I could show you the gameplay from this device on the Zephyrus G14. Great. Awesome. Mac, not the same. And there are just things I'm running into. So the number one reason why I want to start getting more into PC is because aside from video editing, which these videos are not that complex, but aside from video editing, my need for PC is greater on Windows than it would be on Mac OS. That learning curve is going to be a little bit intense, and I've started to learn more as I have that gaming laptop, but that's one of the huge reasons why a PC is becoming, or a Windows machine is a better way of putting it because they're all PCs, is becoming more of a priority. The next, which I would say, if we're going to split hairs, 51-49, like 51% switching to Windows because Mac is insulting, or Apple's been insulting with their price structure, and 49% gaming. I am the first to tell you that we're still using crazy numbers. I don't know why I'm using so many numbers. I would say that almost 80% of my gaming is done on the Steam Deck, not in this office. I'm not leaving the house, but I'm sitting on the couch next to my wife, or just at my kitchen table, or laying on the couch, or whatever. It's just the idea of moving around. And for me, it is novelty. I'm going to be the first to admit, I like the fact that I can play a game like Final Fantasy Remake in a handheld form factor. The novelty in and of itself increases the game experience for me. I know that sounds like lunacy. I know that sounds crazy, but like it's genuinely the case. Like playing Ratchet and Clank on my TV is great. It's awesome. And if I got the PS5 Pro, which I can assure you is not on my radar. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm never going to get it. It's just not on my radar because it doesn't make sense in my current way of gaming. But sitting there and playing on my TV is a lot of fun, but playing it handheld, there is something special about it. And that goes back to being a kid. That goes back to playing the Game Boy. I love handheld gaming. It's a smaller screen, sure. My TV is incredible. I could play on a projector with surround sound and have this immersive experience. Great. But it won't beat the handheld experience for me because that is so special. But in those off chances that I want to play a game like Black Myth Wukong and I want to play it and really enjoy and get immersed in that game and it requires more power, it would be nice to be able to do so and actually experience the game with a little bit better fidelity. But I'm the first to tell you that that is on a lower end scale, maybe 20%, maybe a quarter of my gaming would be done in that form factor. And so that's why the PC becomes necessary. And some of the things that people have given me, like, oh, you're going to have to upgrade this, you're going to chase the frames, that would make sense. And I may do that. That may become something that I get myself into. But as I'm approaching PC gaming as a whole, it's not my main. It simply is there to enhance the experience in moments in which I have time to enhance that experience. But as it stands, this or the Asus ROG Ally X, depending, but this portable gaming, because of the introduction of the possibility of portable gaming through the Nintendo Switch, which, let's be honest, is a fraction of the power that this can do. Because of that, this has not just become my main, but the idea of this has become the desired effect. I'd say that a portable papa, a deck daddy, a ROG uncle, like all of these things, like the reason why it is such a powerful thing for me is because it, in and of itself, encapsulates the way that I want to game. I want my gaming to have a hybrid function. And I now understand that. I now really can articulate that. In understanding that hybrid gaming is the priority, it allows me to release some of that, oh, I just wish it ran better. Sure, I'd love a more powerful device, but that isn't the most important piece for me. I'm willing to sacrifice visual fidelity for a stable experience, which in most cases, the Steam Deck can offer. In more cases, the ROG Ally is able to offer just because of its power there. What do you think? Are you guys on the same boat? If you'd like to see me play this docked, head over to Steam. Head over to Twitch. Twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. I do all my live streaming there. All right. That's it for me today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. October, we're doing a cup a day. Don't know if I'll carry that into November like last year, but at least this year we'll do a cup a day. But the new mantra is, as always, play more and be kind.